What's going on, guys? Welcome to Everything Always. My name's Michael Roman. We have had a ton of Spider-Man news in the last couple of weeks. The shocker starting off that we were getting Electro back, and then of course the news we'd be entering the Spider-Verse sooner than later with the perhaps return of Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire. But it's the news we got yesterday from a trusted industry insider that Sony and MCU have already cast their live-action Miles Morales. We're going to break down where the report came from, what it exactly said about it, and of course what this would mean for the MCU and where's the most likely entry point for this new version of Spider-Man. We're going to break it all down, but first, if you could grab the subscribe button, we're giving away 2 PlayStation 4 Pros, as well as a whole slew of other Marvel-related stuff, including this insane 1/4 scale XM Studios Beta Ray bill and our third and final Infinity Saga box set. If you want to be entered to win, all you have to do hit the subscribe button, then hit the notification bell, leave a like and a comment on this video, and if you want, stick around at the end of the video. We'll get into all the giveaway stuff again there. So this news broke late yesterday from industry insider Jeremy Conrad over at the MCU Cosmic. We'll leave a link down to the source article in the description. Under the headline, Miles Morales headed to the MCU, he starts by writing, quote, "Over the last couple of weeks, we've been hearing some pretty interesting things come to light about Spider-Man 3 prior to the starting of filming. We learned that Jamie Foxx would return as Electro, Benedict Cumberbatch would be appearing as Doctor Strange, and there's a lot of other crazy rumors flying around." He continues by reporting, quote, "I have a source who's reliably told me some things on the DC side of the fence, most recently about the Peacemaker series back in July, and they told me in the past week that Sony and Marvel have already found their live-action Miles Morales." He has no idea who it could be, or even if it's for Spider-Man 3, but notes that that would be the most likely place for his introduction. Now, of course, it is no surprise that Miles Morales is already in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and if you remember all the way back in Spider-Man Homecoming, we learned via Donald Glover's The Prowler that his nephew, as he referred to him, is in the neighborhood. That's Miles Morales, so it's not going to require any sort of crazy Spider-Verse or multiverse travel or even the help of Doctor Strange in order to come in contact with that character. It is going to, however, require a little explaining as to where and how their powers came. Remember, we still don't know that about Peter Parker in the MCU, and of course when we finally get a crossover into Sony's Venomverse, especially if down the road they'll be introducing Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield as well, which has been heavily rumored at this point. Who's going to be facing off against two when we finally get to the Sinister Six? Will they be facing off against Miles Morales, Peter Parker, and or both? But you have to think the inclusion of a live-action Miles Morales either on Sony's side or in the MCU for any amount of time and in any way really serves both Sony and the Marvel Cinematic Universe in completely different ways, and let me explain. Sony, more obviously the fact that they're releasing PlayStation 5 with a Spider-Man reissue under the title of Miles Morales, and of course their entertainment division, which houses their movie studio, is in no different shape than the rest of the movie studios right now in reeling any extra money they can make off their most popular and most lucrative IP, that being Spider-Man, is money for the good, and they're trying to get as much as they can. But from Marvel Studios' standpoint, and a lot of old comic heads are not going to want to hear this, if you line up 100 kids under the age of 14 and ask them who's Peter Parker, they may say Spider-Man. But if you were to ask them who's Spider-Man, most of them are not going to answer Peter Parker. They're going to answer Miles Morales, and that's because of the popularity of Into the Spider-Verse, just that most recent cartoon rebranding Spider-Man as Miles, not Peter. Peter Parker is the old guard, Miles Morales is the new guard, and for the Marvel Cinematic Universe that hopes to launch the next Avengers title that may very well be the Young Avengers, there's a lot of growth left in that demographic. Look, I have one of the biggest Marvel Cinematic Universe centric YouTube channels, and I can tell you from the demographics alone at this channel that the 18 to 45 age slot is where the Marvel Cinematic Universe lies. If there are young kids watching MCU movies right now, it's most likely with their parents who are just introducing them to the movies. Think about it, if you're 11 years old, you weren't even born when Iron Man was released, and there's a good chance that you've seen Into the Spider-Verse, an animated Spider-Man cartoon, but probably not a great chance you've seen Avengers Endgame or Thor Ragnarok. Look, there is a lot of room for growth again with the kids and that demographic, kids under the age of 14 for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They know that. That's why they're introducing characters like Miss Marvel, like Kate Bishop, and the Young Avengers, something that kids can relate to, so there's growth on that level. And if you remember, thinking back to Into the Spider-Verse, Peter Parker is the old man. There's plenty of room for a young Tom Holland to mature, and as we've reported on here at the channel many times, there's hopes for future trilogies with Tom Holland as Peter Parker, both in college and as an adult. And of course, the introduction of a second Spider-Man, even in the MCU, doesn't mean that Tom Holland has to go anywhere. For Sony, this just means more money, and obviously for the narrative, it makes it a little more complicated. If I sit back and think about this, although it would exactly mirror what's going on with Into the Spider-Verse, could it be that it's Miles Morales that Sony hopes to take on the multiverse trip to cross over? And then I keep thinking about the Sinister Six being built in this MCU, and of course the fact that Venom eventually has to cross over with one of them. And wouldn't that rather be Peter Parker? It just seems a little bit awkward, and my final thought is this. It sort of revolves around the same thing I said about bringing back Tony Stark in the idea of permanence. Once you do something, why don't you just always do it? If you bring back Tony Stark as an AI, wouldn't the Avengers be better off with him always there than not? Then you gotta pay Robert Downey Jr. to be just a voice actor, and then always have him as a part of the team where there's not room for other leadership. If you have Miles Morales and Peter Parker teaming up in the same MCU, then wouldn't they better be served always teaming up, of course, when there's a threat that makes sense, especially if they're in the same place geographically like New York, and then you have to explain why one isn't there. I just hope this doesn't get overcrowded and overcomplicated. There's a lot of great narrative left to be told with Tom Holland's Peter Parker, and shoot, we just got him back in the MCU with the renegotiation between Sony and the MCU over a year ago. We haven't even had the next movie yet. While the introduction of a live-action Miles Morales in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is exciting, I just hope that they can keep everything intrinsically uncomplicated and still serve the narratives, especially for important characters like Peter Parker, who still has to grow into his own, hopefully on different teams in different stories against different villains. Guys, let me know all your thoughts down below. This is quite the report, and Jeremy Conrad is a trusted industry insider. If he's hearing it, there's a lot of chance that it's possibly true, and then in that case, when we see him, do you think that's Spider-Man 3? Surely not alongside Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield as well. Guys, let me know all your thoughts down below. I'm all ears as always, and quickly, let's get into the giveaway stuff before I let you go. We're still giving away 2 PlayStation 4 Pros, the next of which is at the 700,000 subscriber mark, which we are easily going to hit this by the end of the month, guys. We're only about 4,000 subscribers away. All you have to do to be entered to win, hit the sub button, then hit the notification bell with notifications turned on, leave a like and a comment on this video, and that'll automatically enter you to win all the rest of the prizes here at the channel, like this insane 1/4 scale XM Studios Beta Ray Bill and our third and final Infinity Saga box set. We gave away 2 earlier this year. We're giving this third one away in December. It'll be the final one here at the channel, regardless of subscriber count. If you want to be entered to win either of the PlayStations, the Beta Ray Bill, or this third and final Infinity Saga box set, or any of the future prizes we give away here at the channel, all the same rules will always apply. Hit the subscribe button to make sure you're a subscriber, hit the notification bell with notifications turned on to keep up with videos here at the channel, leave a like and a comment on this video, and because it's truly random, the more videos you like and comment on, the better chance you have of winning. All winners will be announced at the end of videos the same way we're doing here, and if you've missed any of the previous winner announcements, no worries. All you have to do is scroll back through the channel, look for the winner announcement in the sub count in the title, click on this video and scroll to the end. My name is Michael Roman. This is Everything Always, guys. Thanks so much for checking out the channel, and stick around. We'll be posting again real soon.